Hey guys, what's up? This is Mystical from acupofdeath.com, and today we're bringing you a first impression / review of the game Contrast. Contrast is a 3D / 2D puzzle game in which you shift in and out of shadows of different things in order to, get past certain areas and stuff. So let's go ahead and first, before we actually jump into the game, let's go ahead and go into the settings and kind of see what you're able to mess around with in there. You have your controls, camera, video, and audio. Same as most games. If you go into controls, you can see it tells you all the buttons and what you're able to do and stuff. I am actually using an Xbox 360 controller, as the game does support full controller support through Steam because of their big picture mode, and also they're doing it because a lot of games, getting ready for Steam OS, they're wanting a lot of games that have controller support. So I am using an Xbox 360 wired controller, and you can see the buttons for that at the bottom half of this page. Alright, and the camera allows you to invert your your mouse, which is on the Xbox 360 controller, that's your right thumbstick. So whether it's inverted or not, by default it is not inverted. But I play a lot of FPSs, and back in the day, FPSs like Halo and stuff were inverted look, meaning up is down and down is up. So I went ahead and inverted that because that's what I'm used to. The video options, the graphic options, there's not a lot of options. You can see you can adjust the gamma, the graphics quality from low, medium to high, and the resolution, and whether or not it's full screen. That's the extent of the graphic options that you're able to edit in the game. And the audio is the same way. You have a master volume, your sound effects volume, and your dialogue volume, and whether subtitles are on and off, and the language. If you do change the language, it does require, you have French, Spanish, German, Italian, Portuguese, etc. It does require a restart of the game. No other settings that I'm aware of does require a restart. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I have actually played some of this game, obviously, in order to give the review. Normally during these videos we like to play a segment, and especially when we're doing these first impression type videos, we like to do it on a scene that we have not yet played, just because it allows for a better live commentary. However, since this is a puzzle game, I decided to go ahead and just do the video from the beginning, because most of the puzzles in the beginning are fairly easy to accomplish, and it's not something too difficult, and I didn't figure it would cause any type of issues versus if I started showing you guys how to solve puzzles and stuff from the middle point of the game, which is where I'm currently at. So we'll go ahead and hit this stuff, interact with the stuff. It's going to give a storyline, and I'll let you guys just kind of watch this part of the storyline. Most of the storylines I'm going to end up skipping just because I don't want to give away any of the story for you. So let's go ahead and watch this one.
What are you doing here? My mommy's coming. You better hide, or she's gonna catch you.
Okay, sweetie. Night, night. What are you looking at?
I don't think she can see you.
Now promise me you'll be a good girl while I'm out singing.
I promise.
No sneaking out this time. I'll get in trouble.
I promise.
That's my good girl.
Mommy, is Daddy ever coming back?
I don't know, honey. Maybe someday when he's ready. But don't you worry. Mommy always comes back. I'll be home before you even wake up. Get some nice sleep.
Okay, she's gone. She's gonna sing at the Ghost Note tonight. It's the most beautiful cabaret. Come on, we'll miss her show.
Okay, so basically the point of this game is that you're following around this little girl called Dee Dee, named Dee Dee, and you're basically trying to help her along in her childhood life, and that is by doing different things for her and helping her accomplish certain things and certain errands and certain tasks and stuff like that. And you do this by, like I said, solving the puzzles by going between 2D and 3D. By blending into the shadows, which we're actually going to see here for the first time in the game right at the beginning.
And move the ash cart, and I can jump down. I'll play here, so you can go over there and be a shadow person.
Okay, so by shifting on the controller, we just hit the right shift, and as you can see, we are now in 2D. You are unable to move around in 3D. But you're then able to walk across the shadows and stuff to get to certain places, and you can just hit the button again to come out of the shadows back into the 3D.
Now the asteroid to where I can jump into it.
The graphics of the game, it is an indie game. This is not a AAA title. However, the graphics are fairly, done fairly well. Nothing too great, nothing like that. It's not going to kill your hardware. Can definitely be played on an older type system without, many problems at all.
Where did you go for so long? I haven't seen you.
One thing I do like is I actually do like the soundtrack of the game. It's more of a jazzy type music and stuff. It's actually kind of relaxing and stuff. I think it works well with the puzzle game, and in most areas when you're trying to figure out a puzzle, it's not really music that gets you overly anxious or anything like that. It just kind of allows you to, just kind of enjoy the game. I will also say that the puzzles do get progressively harder as you go into the storyline. However, from the looks of it, I would not say that this is an extremely difficult puzzle game, being that I think they are trying to, make it kind of even versus the puzzle versus actually being able to finish and hear the story. This is not a puzzle game like Portal 2 where you're simply solving puzzles and going from one spot to another, but it is actually a story as well that you're listening to and that you're seeing a lot of cutscenes for. So it's almost like an episodic, kind of like Telltale's games, The Walking Dead, or The Wolf Among Us, in which you're being told a story as you're doing this, which is nice. So you can see the puzzles start getting more complicated. This light's lighting up a bicycle, as you can see, which I'll just go around, and we can stand here, wait for the pedal of the bike to come up in order to get on, and jump up here in order to capture this luminaries. If we hit the back button here, you can see when we do, it brings up all of our collectibles that we've gathered so far. And then if you hit the start button, it brings you here to the pause menu. It tells you luminaries 2 left in the level, 8 that's at the bottom left screen. So you can actually collect both collectibles and luminaries in each level. So we'll go ahead and continue on. I would say, overall so far, like I said, I'm about midway in the game. And overall, I've been very impressed. There are, of course, a couple things that I disliked about the game. However, for the most part, I found it very intriguing, very interesting. I like the concept of being able to go from the 3D to the 2D. I also like the concept of using the shadows and stuff to, accomplish this stuff. However, there are a couple problems with the game. There's a couple times I've gotten stuck in areas because of glitches when it comes to the camera view and stuff, or my person got in between two objects and wasn't able to move. However, it's never been to the point where I've had to restart the game or anything like that. I've always eventually been able to get out of the area or whatever by jumping around, moving. Sometimes it's taken a couple minutes, but overall I've always been able to get out of the issue, from those, that comes from the camera issues and stuff. So nothing too bad. Another thing is, sometimes I'm not a huge fan of how they use the lighting system. I mean, pretty much, you can't dive into every single shadow in the game. You're not able, there has to be basically a bright light source causing big shadows on the walls and stuff, in order for you to actually, do the things, in order to phase in and out or whatever. So that's something I wish there was a little more. And most of the time it's part of the puzzle where you're able to do it. It's where you can do a shadow, it's because there's something there for you to do. Whereas I think it would have made it a little more difficult and a little bit more fun if there was other areas that you could shadow into and stuff. But really, there was no point in it. It was just part that you could or whatever. So I would have liked to see that a little more. Also, you'll see into the game here, we'll get here in just a couple minutes, where you'll actually see. And again, I'm going to skip these cutscenes and stuff, that way I don't really give away the story for you guys. But there's parts of the games where you actually have to change the light and move it around or whatever in order to cause the shadows to be on the, walls and stuff. But it's always fairly easy. I've never had it be difficult yet at this point, which kind of disappoints me. I mean, I think they could have did better jobs at doing it. And it's almost awkward the way that you sometimes have to create the shadows. Whereas if you were just to,
I bet he's going to.
if they were just to, I mean, even for example, which I think there's one coming up here, so I kind of want to get to it real quick before I
Kicked him out.
show you that. So we'll hold off on that for 1 second, and since we're about to unlock a new ability, and I'll show you that real quick. So we can't get through here in the 3D world, so we're about to get a new ability that's going to be allow us to basically phase shift, and it allows us to, in the 3D world, break through stuff like that by hitting it. And in the 2D world, the shadow world, it actually allows us to phase through shadows. So if there's a pole in a shadow, we can hit it to phase through that shadow to continue on the path. So let's go ahead and run in here, and this is actually where you'll see the light source thing I was talking about. Like here, you walk into this thing, you gotta go, and if you watch the story, it tells you have to get this film reel, which is up in the manager's office up there. So you have to use this light source to make the shadows. And again, I mean, it's, I think it would have been more intriguing if they would have did something like having a couple different spotlights, because this is a stage, so having a couple different spotlights up there. But maybe only one of them provided the right angle that you needed. So by having them at, a certain one on or off, creates the angle that you need for the light instead of just moving around this light box here. Because basically, even though the manager is over there to the right, what you end up having to do is making the shadow over here on the left side so that you can jump up there and go around. And again, it's not that it's bad, it's just I think they could have did a better job at some of the light sources, because there's even some other areas where I'm like, man, this is just kind of, it's like, immediately what you're the way in order to create the shadows and stuff. Whereas I think it would have been better if they would have put in different light sources to where you had to try to figure out which light source and stuff to use, and also just had some shadows there in the beginning. I think basically I'm saying I think the game could have been a little more difficult than it has been so far, because even in the beginning it is fairly easy. So if you're a hardcore puzzle gamer, this may not be a puzzle game that really does a lot for you. I mean, again, it does get progressively harder, and I have not actually gotten to the end of the game yet, so for all I know, it could be extremely difficult once you get to the end. But with the type of game it is and other games that I've played, I'm just not imagining that it's anything too difficult, because with it having a big storyline to it. If it was too difficult, that would stop a lot of people from being able to complete it, which would stop a lot of people from being able to finish the story, which I don't think would have been a good idea either. However, I do think that they sometimes made it a little easier than they needed to. So that's really my biggest complaint, is just, with it being a 3D versus 2D type shadow world, I think they could have did a little better job on how they implemented some of the different things than what they did when it came to the shadows and the light sources. Not to say that the game's not good and that it's still not a lot of fun. It is. It's definitely a game. I play a lot of these types of games and stuff because I'm constantly making reviews and stuff for our YouTube channel, and a lot of times, to be honest, I'm just not able to finish a game because I just have so much other stuff on my plate and stuff, and other games that I have to get through and things like that. However, this is a game that I actually see myself finishing, mostly because of two reasons. I do really enjoy storyline games where, I'm not the type of person where it always has to be hardcore action going on. I like, following a story, hearing the story, things like that. And I also really enjoy puzzle games. So this kind of gives, two of my favorite genres of games into, one game, which I really, really, really enjoy. So, I definitely see myself finishing this game, and if you're into puzzle games and into things like that, then, I definitely think it's a game you will enjoy and is definitely worth checking out. Here we have another puzzle, and again, this is a little bit different than the one we saw before. Instead of moving the light source, which is coming from the ceiling up here, we have to move these, different cardboard cutout things to create the shadows to basically get up there on the balcony to get around this door where she was able to squeeze through, but it's chained. Again, I know this is the beginning of the game, but I guess they just, to me, make it so obvious and easy sometimes For example, you walk in a door and I mean, bam, you got 3 things right there casting huge shadows on the back wall with sparkles all around their feet and stuff, telling you obviously that you need to interact with them and move them around in order to get up there. And I don't know, I just thought it would be a little more difficult at some point. I just think they could have did it a little better. Again, not that it's horrible or anything like that, but just a couple things I think would have worked a touch better. So we'll place these guys around where they need to be placed. Again, I have already done these parts, but I just did not want to, give away too much here. Because to me, I mean, again, that was pretty obvious when you walk in, so I don't think it's going to ruin anybody's gameplay. Whereas if I would have did more of the middle stuff, I just think it would have ruined a lot more. Okay, so go ahead and pick up the collectibles. As you see, we're collecting the collectibles. I've already missed a couple. And even in mid game, when I started, I was really trying to find them all and stuff, and I still missed a couple. So that definitely adds an aspect to the game and stuff. And I like when they add stuff like that in the games and things. But the only other complaint that I have is just the camera. Like I said, can sometimes be a little jumpy. It can sometimes cause some problems, things like that. Which nothing too major. Like I said, it never got me to the point where I got completely stuck, but just that. So overall, I would definitely recommend checking the game out if you're into puzzle games. If you like not just puzzle games, but games where you can also follow a nice storyline, then I would definitely recommend it. Sometimes the storyline, you're doing kind of, things for Dee Dee or, things for Dee Dee for her dad, and they can get a little bit tedious sometimes and get a little over. Like, it's almost like, this really doesn't need to be a part of the storyline as much as it is. They could shorten it, things like that, and it would work a lot better. But, I mean, overall, it's a good story. It has a good storyline. So far, like I noticed, and like I said, I like games that have a good storyline and stuff, and it's good enough that it makes me actually want to finish the game, which is always a plus. And like I said, not something that always is done. So, that's definitely a plus. And the game's not too difficult to, like I said, figure things out or whatever. And there's something over here. We'll go pick this up. Another collectible, probably. No. Oh, a microphone. Oh, okay. That's in order to get a... Are you kidding me? Put your leg down. And now I'm walking on some chick's hind end. What the? Oh, okay, I see. But so like I said, nothing too difficult. Woot! Pick up the luminary. And like I said, I mean, overall, it's a really good game. I definitely would recommend checking it out. It's different from a lot of other puzzle games. It gives you something new, something that I personally haven't seen before. This is where the puzzles start getting a little more difficult because you have to get up these 5 different levels. So I don't really want to go any further in the game because they do start getting more trickier here and stuff, and I don't want to mess it up for anybody. Because now you're talking about puzzles where you actually have to piece parts together in order to complete the full task of getting to the 5th floor. So I think we're going to go ahead and stop the video here and at the same time stop the review, as I also really don't have too much else to say other than that overall I enjoy the game. I definitely think if you're into puzzle games and into games that have a good storyline, or are more episodic, kind of like I said, the Telltale games, then this is probably a game you definitely want to check out. The graphics, they're good for an indie game, nothing spectacular. The soundtrack's actually really good. It has a jazz feel to all the music and stuff to the soundtrack. Really gets you involved in the game. Like I said, I think they should have turned off. I wish there was in the settings. I wish there was an option to actually turn off like these light hints and things that told you like what to interact with and what you kind of needed to do for the puzzles. I think that would make it a little more difficult, which would make it a touch better for those that play a lot of puzzle games and would like the added difficulty. And even if they made other stuff a little more interactive so that you didn't always know well, only the stuff I can interact with are obviously used for puzzles. And again, that might change once you get past mid part of the game. As you get towards the end, it might become a lot more difficult. But again, I don't imagine that happening, since there is a storyline they're wanting people to follow, and they're going to want people to be able to complete that storyline. So it is on Steam for $14.99 as of the time of this video. It released at a price of $19.99. It's only been a couple of days. It already dropped $5, which is kind of common with indie games. And if you're watching this, I definitely think it's worth the $15. So if it drops even lower, if you're watching this at a later point in time, I'd definitely recommend checking it out if you're looking for a new puzzle game to play. Alright guys, please subscribe to our channel. Helps us out tremendously. We are a newer gaming channel, and so every subscription, every single subscription helps us out just so much, and we appreciate it so much. Also, make sure you give the video a like if it helped you out. It takes a lot of time and stuff to do these videos and reviews, and it takes a lot of money buying all these games and stuff. Sometimes we do get game codes and stuff to where we don't actually pay for them, but most of the times, since we are a smaller channel, we end up buying the games and stuff. So it does cost a lot of money, and so every little bit that you guys can do by subscribing or liking our videos helps us out tremendously, and we appreciate it so much, as we love being able to provide this service to you guys. And that is the service of being able to kind of get a feel for a game before you go and spend your money on it, and waste money on a game that potentially you may not enjoy. Alright guys, until next time, we'll see you guys in the game. Later.